On this day, one of our earliest explorers, Explorer 3, aka the Moon Orbiter, will be sadly retired and will be crashing on one of the craters near the Sea of Serenity. The spacecraft has contributed on our mission to put a man on the moon. This made contributions on studying the moon's surface, mapping the rock, mountains, craters, everything. It has also helped landers and potential rovers for its easy navigation and communication with this spacecraft. The spacecraft will crash near the Sea of Serenity at fast speed, and once the spacecraft's communications were cut, we can officially determine that the mission is over. So right now, as we speak, Explorer 3 is descending at the height of 1,155 meters with a velocity of about 367 meters per second. We are now currently in the middle of the Sea of Serenity, a pile of flat land, as Explorer 3 takes its last images as the spacecraft slowly descends into the craters below. The spacecraft is trying its best to communicate with Earth for one last time as the spacecraft makes its dip towards the moon's surface. This will create a crater in which our infrared telescopes on the ground would see if the moon indeed has ice below the crust. We hopefully hope that the spacecraft has enough kinetic energy so that when it crashes on the surface of the moon, it can launch projectiles and maybe even water ice on board. As currently asking, we are now on one of the crater rims of the Sea of Serenity. It looks like that we are now at least 3 seconds until crash. The spacecraft has come a long way. We are now at 15 meters below the surface, and the spacecraft is fine, I guess. And there you go, communications. So now our mission plan is to launch a orbiter to Mars. Now this isn't any ordinary orbiter. It's a freaking dive bomber, but we're going to actually orbit Phobos, the moon of Mars. Now, we only pointed in the opposite direction because I don't even care. And plus, our goal was Phobos because the moon itself looked promising for a landing there. Now we're going to attempt a landing there once the spacecraft has retired, but Phobos' low gravity means that we can actually land on there easier and orbit it easier. So as you can see here, we're now going to make a trans-Mars injection, and we're going to fast forward 7 months from now. Now, after we separate and deploy the solar panels, it's now truly time to speedrun this. Now, instead of using stupid engines, we're only using RCS and a little bit of aero braking. So now, as you can see, we're actually aiming for the atmosphere of Mars. Yes, so that's why we've been making those cushion burns, because we're actually aiming inside the atmosphere of Mars, because we're actually going to use the friction induced by atmospheric entry to slow us down and make orbit. It's kind of be elliptical. However, we're actually designing it to be elliptical so that we can actually point our orbit towards Dame Phobos. And here we go. It's now aero braking time. And just in case that we overshot our aero brake, we can actually just switch to other rockets and click the fast forward button and switch it again to our orbiter. This is because there's a feature at SFS where if you actually time accelerate on another object and switch into another object while it's in the atmosphere, it'll go like unscathed in the temperature, even if how hot it is, or like if it's overheating, it still will overheat. Anyway, so here, as you can see, we separated the heat shield, and now we're gonna relocate the antenna to the other side. And we're gonna see something very, very smooth. Okay, there. That's the smoothest. That's the smoothest docking I have ever seen in my whole entire life. Anyway, so now we're going to, like, adjust our orbit a little bit, because we're still on a crash course to the atmosphere. So of course we're gonna use the RCS to, like, maneuver us way out of there, because, like, if you actually orbit into the atmosphere and you're going to burn up there, you're a psychopath if you do that. So now we're setting up an encounter for Phobos. And here, this is our first scouting flyby of Phobos. This is our first flyby of Phobos to check if there's anything interesting to go by. And as you can see here, Phobos looks literally massive. I think the captured asteroid is much more smaller than Phobos. Phobos is larger than this captured asteroid because, well, when we crashed the impactor on the captured asteroid a few days ago, it looked really, really small. Anyway, so now we're going to set up our HIMARS orbit, and poetically, we're going to chase Phobos down until we orbit him. It's kind of like falling in love with somebody, actually. Or is it? Anyway, so back to the corny jokes again. Anyway, so now we entered this sphere of influence, Phobos. Now we're actually going to set up an orbit. However, because Phobos is large, it's actually easier to get into orbit than the captured asteroid. So you can only just make a tiny RCS input and you are now in orbit. Congratulations. But wait, we're going really, really slow, like 5.3 meters per second, but at least we're not agonizingly slow, like when we're orbiting the captured asteroid at 1.2 meters per second, or sometimes 0.4 meters per second. That's agonizingly slow. Anyway, so now we have made ourselves a stable orbit. Actually, we're actually now, the apoapsis is now on the boundary of the sphere of influence, which is absolutely nice because, well, we can actually observe Mars and Phobos here as we map both moons at the same time. Separation mission control, we have confirmation that we got separation has been confirmed. We are also deploying the solar panel now. Ready for extraction. Roger, proceed with extraction. Proceed with extraction, Eric 4, mission control. We got confirmation that the Rover module has been extracted away from stage 2.